It felt like a union meeting, which in a way it was. 12 working girls sat in a flat, talking, telling stories. The main subject was what's to be done with this Shadrach fellow. The ladies had stood all they could from this brutish villain, and now he was going to be made to pay. This situation had to end. Mia and Hazel sat together holding hands in the circle. They had all said their piece in terms of personal experience, and now it was time for suggestions. The unofficial leader of the group was a woman of Spanish descent called Assumpta, although this wasn't her working name. Her closest friend and ally was Terry, a Manchester girl through and through. Blonde, blue eyes, must have been the oldest woman in the room, perhaps mid-40s. These two veteran prostitutes put forward the idea, not too subtly, that Shadrach had to go for a swim in the canal. He had to sleep with the fishes. A couple of the girls seemed shocked and fearful. This was as serious as it gets. Another girl, Sarah, with some prompting from her friend Tony, proposed that Shadrach be set up, a drug plant, and an anonymous tip-off. This got nods and noises of approval, though not from Assumpta or Terry. When Mia was invited to put her 2 cents in, she said she honestly didn't know what to do. She had no plan as such for dealing with this thug, but suggested that they should get the police involved, which of course would involve interviews and testimonies. Difficult questions would need to be asked. This suggestion did not go down well with the room. Mia wasn't surprised. She didn't have high hopes for this meeting. Nothing was resolved on the day, no approval was given to any one course of action, and the general view seemed to be that this get-together was a waste of time. They went their separate ways. Mia wasn't alone in thinking she didn't want to be a party to a murder plot. Dangerous words had been spoken. Some things once said cannot be unsaid. Later that afternoon, back at her place, Mia readied herself for a client in the usual manner. Last-minute makeup check and a little chemical stimulation. The doorbell rang. She sauntered to the front door and let James in, who seemed more eager than usual to get in there. He always was happy to see his Mia though, but today was different. James wanted to know about the details of this favour she had alluded to. In what way did she need his help? He had to know. She sat down, looking quite pensive at first, but as she began to explain, she relaxed. Mia told him that she'd been quite upset and fairly intoxicated when she'd messaged him last, but now she was feeling more centred. She regretted saying what she did. Then she proceeded to explain how it would be unfair to involve a client in her personal affairs. Unfair and unprofessional. She stopped talking in an explanatory fashion when she saw the tears in James's eyes. He managed to contain himself though. He froze for a moment and then said he understood, no problem, no biggie. He was concerned, but now he felt better, seeing that Mia was okay. It was all bullshit, of course. He was hurt, and she could see that. I'm not really feeling up to it today, not in the mood. Maybe a bit of a mistake coming here. Can we do this next week? Said James, clearly looking for the exit. Mia didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable, but at the same time didn't want him walking out of here upset. So she offered him a drink and insisted that he stay a while, seeing as he had come from Crewe. She made him a screwdriver and kept him talking about work and general goings-on in the news. He lightened up a little before he left, but not too much. She'd unintentionally bruised his ego. Would he be back? She couldn't say. James, for his part, felt foolish and wanted to be alone to gather himself. He had built this up in his mind, and it had been a flop, a big disappointment. He just needed space to think, and maybe another drink. Mia was about to go to bed when the phone rang. It was almost 2 a.m, so this must be important, she thought. It was Hazel. She apologised for calling so late, but thought Mia would want to know straight away that the cops had arrested Shadrach and several of his associates that very night. Apparently, there had been a series of raids across the city as part of a new operation by Greater Manchester Police against organised crime. Mia was happy to hear this. Her mood lifted significantly. Hopefully the piece of shit would be put away for a long time, she thought. Then Hazel informed her friend that one of the girls at the meeting was actually an undercover detective. That was the word on the street anyway. Mia tried to picture the faces in the meeting circle. Her thoughts quickly turned to Assumpta and Terry. They may well have floated the idea of murder in the presence of an officer of the law. This was a lot to take in. What a day it had been. Mia and Hazel spoke for another half an hour. After Mia hung up, it was straight to bed. Physically and mentally drained, she was out like a light.